In our week 3 and 4 on theories of origin of religion, we look at the depreciatory theories of religious origins. Now, the earliest evidence of religious ideas dates back several hundred thousand years to the Middle and Lower Paleolithic periods. And of course, the Middle Paleolithic or Middle Paleolithic is the second subdivision of the Paleolithic or Old Stone Age as it is understood in Europe, Africa, and Asia. And of course, the term Middle Stone Age is used as an equivalent or a synonym for the Middle Paleolithic in African archaeology. The Middle Paleolithic and the Middle Stone Age broadly spanned from the year 300,000 to 30,000 years ago. So it's a long time. So I've said that the earliest evidence of religious ideas dates back several 100,000 years to the Middle and Lower Paleolithic periods. Archaeologists refer to apparent intentional burials of early Homo sapiens from as early as 300,000 years ago as evidence of religious ideas. In other words, religion has been there since time immemorial. When we talk about the early Paleolithic, the Middle and the Lower Paleolithic periods, we are talking about long time ago. And I've said that other evidence of religious ideas include symbolic artifacts from Middle Stone Age sites in Africa. However, the interpretation of early Paleolithic artifacts with regard to how they relate to religious ideas remains a very controversial subject. Archaeological evidence from more recent periods is less controversial. A number of artifacts from the Upper Paleolithic, that is referring to 50,000 to 13,000 years ago, that is Upper Paleolithic, are generally interpreted by scientists as representing religious ideas. Examples of Upper Paleolithic remains associated with religious beliefs include the Lion Man, the Venus figurines, cave paintings from Chauvet Cave, and the elaborate ritual burial from Sangil. And you understand, Sangil is an Upper Paleolithic or archaeological site in Russia and one of the earliest records of modern Homo sapiens in Europe. In the 19th century, various theories were proposed regarding the origin of religion, supplanting the earlier claims of Christianity Early theorists such as Edward Burnett Taylor, E.B. Taylor, and Herbert Spencer proposed the concept of animism, while archaeologist John Lubbock used the term fetishism. And of course, fetish comes from the Portuguese feitiço, and this in turn is taken from Latin factitious, or at something artificial. In other words, even African religion was dismissed as fetish or simply something artificial or not there at all. Meanwhile, religious scholar, of course, I've noted that was a big error by the likes of Edward Taylor and others who saw African religion as animist and Lubbock saw it as fetish or artificial or not there at all. Meanwhile, religious scholar Max Muller theorized that religion began in hedonism. And when we define hedonism, we say it's a school of thought that argues that pleasure is a primary or the most important intrinsic good. And in very simple terms, a hedonist strives to maximize net pressure or pressure minus pain. He doesn't want, a hedonist doesn't want any pain. He just wants joy and be satisfied. Everything is moving well. He's happy. That's a hedonist. People who pursue happiness or who don't want to, who just focus on pressure or joy, just that. So religion now, according to some of these theories, were people seeking joy and seeking pressure. Meanwhile, religious scholar Max Muller theorized that religion began in hedonism, and folklorists William Mahandit suggested that religion began in naturalism, by which he meant mythological explanation of natural events. All of these theories have since been widely criticized. There is no broad consensus regarding the origin of religion. Other theories regarding theories of religion, in short, is religion as the fear, or fear as the parent of religion. And in his works on Why I'm Not a Christian and other essays on religion and related subjects, Bertrand Russell, who died in 1870, being born 1872, says that religion is based primarily upon fear. It is partly the terror of the unknown and partly as a wish to feel that you have a kind of elder brother who will stand by you in all troubles and disputes. Fear of the mysterious, fear of defeat, fear of death. Fear is the parent of cruelty, and therefore it is no wonder if cruelty and religion have gone hand in hand. It is because fear is at the basis of those two things. In this world, we can now begin a little to understand things and a little to master them by help of science, which has forced its way step by step against the opposition of all the old precepts. Science can help us to get over this craven fear in which humanity has lived for so many generations. Science can teach us, and I think in quoting Bertrand Russell, I'm quoting him, and I think our own hearts can teach us no longer to look around for imaginary supports, no longer to invent arrays in the sky, but rather to look to our own efforts here below to make this world a fit place to live in, instead of the place that the churches in all these centuries have made it. That is Bertrand Russell, who brought the theory of fear as a parent of religion. Another theory regarding the birth of religion is religion as wishful fulfillment. And this came from Sigmund Freud, the father of psychoanalysis. He believed that religion was a great hindrance to society, and so set out to prove that it is merely a product of the mind. That is an illusion. You just create it in your mind. It's not there. So it's a wishful fulfillment, it's a wishful thinking. In this theory, Sigmund Freud went on to offer both a psychological and historical explanation of the origins of religion. Certainly, he was led into the field of psychoanalysis by his opposition to religion. So psychoanalysis is simply perfecting Sigmund Freud's hatred for religion. Freud's historical explanation of religion is set out in his Totem and Taboo. There he imagines a father of a primal horde whose sons envies his access to the tribe's women, and so overwhelms and kills him. Even after their rebellion, the sons cannot fulfill their desire to emulate their father due to competition between them. Religion arose out of the frustration and guilt that they felt. Freud's psychological explanation of religion builds on the ideas of Ludwig Feuerbach. Feuerbach developed the idea that God is a projection of the unconscious mind. Freud added to this a psychological foundation. For Freud, as for Feuerbach, religion is wishful or wish fulfillment. Freud adds the explanation that the adoption of religion is a reversion to childish patterns of thought in response to feelings of helplessness and guilt. We feel a need for security and forgiveness, and so invent a source of security and forgiveness. That is, we go to God. Religion is thus seen as childish delusion, and atheism as a grown-up realism. That is that theory. And as that theory here to consider is religion is a creation by priestly class. In other words, priests created religion. To some, religion is a creation of the priestly class. Take the case of Egypt in its ancient days. Priests in ancient Egypt had a role different to the role of a priest in modern society. Though the Egyptians had close associations with their gods, they did not practice any form of organized religion. As modern times would define it, the priest did not preach, proselytize, or care for a congregation. They were not messengers of any divinely revealed truth. There was no single holy book on which the religious system of Egypt was based. No preaching was required because every Egyptian accepted the validity of the traditional religious theology. That is, the world was created, ordered, and governed by the gods through the intermediary, that is the king, the only actual priest in Egypt. It was accepted that people trying to live good lives in the hope of earning merit for the life to come, they didn't need to be converted to a way that was already considered to be theirs. The authors of religious works had no responsibility for instructing the people as a whole in the ways of the gods. The same was true for the ritual priest. So Egyptian priests did not have a vital role in the religious ritual of daily and festival life. Whereas today, a god may be worshipped who is believed to bestow his grace upon his followers. The Egyptian priests offered and performed material and ritual magic services to the god of his temple to ensure that God's presence would continue on earth and thus maintain the harmony and order of the world as they had been created. That was why the priests were called servants of the god, or Hemnetja, the traditional title for a priest. Something else is theories based on the nature of primitive religions. And you understand these jargons, primitive, these are not African preferences. The African scholars know that for a long time they have been called primitive. Their religions have been called primitive, and they are not happy because they believe that the primitivity is relative. Your primitivity is not necessarily my primitivity. Your wisdom is not necessarily my wisdom. But anyway, there are these theories based on the so-called nature of primitive religions. I talk about the high God theory. Number 2, the magic is the first form of religion. Number C or number 3 is totemism. Let me just try to be brief about these theories here, although there's also a fourth theory called animism, and the final theory for us to consider today, pre-animism, the fifth one. Now, let me see these so-called uh, theories, religious theories based on the nature of primitive religions. The high God theory. The term high God theory of religion is used by historians and anthropologists to designate the supreme deity found in many polytheistic religions. How is this high God understood? He is usually described as being located somewhere beyond the sky, utterly transcended. He is removed from the world that he originally created, hence the term high. It is, to some extent, almost deistic in its concept. Encyclopedia Britannica, there is a proverb that describes the high God as follows: God is on high and man is below. God is God and man is man. Each is at home, each in his own house. Generally speaking, God has been conceived of as masculine by primitive society. Furthermore, he is considered to be the sole creator of heaven and earth, but after creating the universe from what he had made and went somewhere else to live. No images are made of the high God, and there is little, if any, religion associated with him. Essentially, he is unworshipped. Few, if any, prayers or sacrifices are given. Because he is either one, no longer cares; two, because he already hears and sees everything, and there is reason to talk to him, circumstances, and there is no great expectation by anyone that such a prayer will be heard or reacted to. The second theory, magic is the first form of religion. Magical thinking in various forms is a cultural universe, important aspect of religion. Magic is prevalent in all societies, regardless of whether they have organized religion or general systems of animism or shamanism. Religion and magic became conceptually separated with the development of Western monotheism, where the distinction of events sanctioned by mainstream religious doctrine, the idea magic rooted belief or out speculation. In pre-monotheism distinction between religious practice and magic, tutelary deities concerned with magic are sometimes called hermetic deities or spirit guides. Appearing from Aboriginal tribes in Australia and New Zealand to rainforest tribes in South America, the so-called, of course, that's a Western concept, and pagan tribal groups in Western Europe and Britain is personified by Marine, based on Welsh prophet Medin Wiut. Some form of shamanism and belief in a spirit world seems to be common in the early development of human communities. According to Joseph Campbell, the ancient cave paintings in Luscos dated with much of the hunt, and much of the Babylonian and Egyptian pictorial writing characters appear derived from the same source. Diving to Totemism is another theory of religion. Third one in this other category we are considering is a system of belief in which humans are said to have kinship or mystical relationship with a spirit being such as animal or plant. The entity or totem is thought to interact with a given kin group or individual and to serve as their emblem or symbol. The term totemism has been used to characterize a cluster of traits in the religion and in the social organization of many peoples. Totemism is manifested in various forms and types in different contexts and is most often among populations whose traditional economies relied on hunting and gathering. mixed farming with hunting and gathering, all emphasized the raising of cattle. Generally, there is a lot of we can say about totemism, the totemism, individual totemism, and we can talk of examples of totemism. In East Africa, for example, each group of relatives has a holy place to which the totem animal brings the souls of the dead and from which the souls of children are also believed to come. Of course, some of these are misrepresentation of the West. And I should tell you for sure that you look at the Kikuyu, Mogumo tree is a totemic tree in the sense that if it is in a very Christianized and Islamized world, or Kenya, you may think of Omieri in Western Kenya. That's another totem. Hindu, they have cow. To me, it's totemic because if you cannot do much, it's like the mother cow and mother god or something. Totems are those special trees or people or something that's associated with great, holding something. And so there's a theory that religion began as totems, as the totemic connection in the theory of religion. This one of animism, I want to say that the person who propounded this theory and deeply is Edward B. Taylor. And of course, he made a very big mistake when he said African people are animistic. And the first stage of religion in following Charles Darwin's theory of evolutionary theory is where you worship everything and you think a soul has spirit or has spirit or something of the sort. Is that believers in through Christ or through the Prophet Muhammad, but in God, whatever that is, but God, not gods. Then they said the second stage is polytheism, and it evolves to polytheism at certain stage. You don't do anything; it just evolves on its own. The third final stage, monotheism. They say Africa is animistic. Those were all pack of rice. It's not true. Specifically, animism is used in anthropology of religion as a term of the belief system of or cosmology of some indigenous ethnic groupings, especially prior to the development of colonialism and argue as animism. The term was taken and redefined by anthropologist Sir Edward in his 1871 book Primitive Culture, in which he defined it as a general doctrine of the source and other spiritual beings in general. According to Taylor, animism often includes an idea of pervading life and will in nature. That is, a belief that natural objects other than humans have. This formulation was literally from that as fetishism or something fake. The last theory of religion before we close this lecture is pre-animism. Pre-animism is thought to be a feeling of fear, of awe, of wonder, instigated by supernatural events. Also, it is the earliest beliefs that all objects are alive with life, energy, or spirits. In the years around 1900, the scholarly debate about the origins and evolution of religion was still in large measure dominated by theories put forward by E.B. Taylor 30 years previously, notably in his Primitive Culture. The key concept was animism, which denoted both a primitive belief in spiritual beings and a belief in the of non-human beings, from the higher mammals down to trees, plants, and stones, spirit forces. Of course, he put a lot of exaggerations and particularly with regard to Africa. He never stepped on the soil of Africa, yet he wrote a lot about the primitivity of religious discourses in Africa. There's a lot of misrepresentation in this man. Nevertheless, he provides a good foundation, a good platform of action from where we can develop and articulate our discourses and really build from there or collect the message he did. Thank you very much.